What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy, Motor City Don P, and you know I'm back once again. Wait a minute. Hold up. Wait, let me start that again. Detroit, what's up, though? You already know what it is. That's the Big Z. What up, though? We're going to dive into it, but you already know when you see me in front of your TV, one thing is for certain, three things are for sure. And indeed, number one is that the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. Number two is that we came to give you stats and not none of that static. Number three, want to make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic, and that is perhaps the most important number of them all. Number three. You may be asking yourself, how? How, Don? How do I keep my Lions news pragmatic, man? Because there's a lot of people out there who are hot taking it and shaking it, faking it until they making it. A lot of people out there who are not staying true to their takes. A lot of people out there that are trying to tell you that they didn't want Malik Willis number 2 overall. They always wanted Aiden Hutchinson. It was never Malik Willis for them, even though they wanted Malik Willis. They were always Jared Goff fans, even though they weren't always Jared Goff fans. They always loved Dan Campbell, even though they didn't always love Dan Campbell. Hey, he's always been my guy, even though he hasn't always been their guy. There are a lot of them out there who are like that. And you want to make sure that you don't propagate. You want to make sure that you don't patronize. You want to make sure that you don't deal with those guys, and you got to make sure that you deal with me, the Motor City Cat himself. And how do you do that? Well, you smash that like button, you subscribe, you share, you let everybody know what is going on in this illustrious fan cave behind us. And that is it. You have done it. It has been done. All right. So again, smashing like buttons. Go ahead. I got some concurrent viewers in here that ain't matching the likes. Smash the like button. Come on now. It don't take too much time. Just smash the like button. What up, though? Here's Johnny. What up, though? Flying Hawaiian. He says, are we in danger? I don't think we're in danger. I'm in danger. Shout out if you know, use the hashtag. But we're going to go ahead and get into what we got to get into today, I'm sure. Because, again, I do this show at 7 p.m., 7:15 p.m., usually to be exact. Sometimes it's 7:30. You know, it all depends on what I'm doing, what my day is like, how I've gotten my nose to the grindstone, and what have you. But 7:15, 7:30, that's where you can expect this show to kick off on the daily, right? Except for Friday. So I'm sure you've heard all of the Big Z, the hubbub, and all the hullabaloo and everything. And I'm sure you've heard it. If you want me to read something from it, I can, for sure. But the crux of the issue, Brad Holmes was on 97.1 The Ticket, and he didn't sound like he sounded on the Green Light podcast. Now, if you remember, when he was on the Green Light podcast, here's Johnny said he didn't think Hutch would be there at pick number 2. But hey, well, listen, the Jaguars jagged. They said they zigged while everyone else zags. No, the Jaguars jagged while everyone else was doing normal NFL stuff. But you remember on the Green Light podcast with Chris Long, Brad Holmes was asked a question about Zadarius Smith. It was teed up for him like T-ball. Y'all played T-ball before? I'm sure everybody played T-ball. I played T-ball when I was 5 years old. You understand what I'm saying? Everyone has played T-ball at some point. If you didn't play for a team, you probably played at school at some point. So the ball was placed on top of the tee so that Brad Holmes could knock it out of the park. And Brad Holmes kind of just looked at that ball on top of the tee and was like, yeah, I'm taking a walk. Well, you can't walk, Brad, because they ain't pitching. But anyway, he danced around. He didn't even really dance around it. He just acted like the question wasn't asked. He just acted like Big Z wasn't part of that question. He's like, yeah, I really love what, you know what I'm saying, the trade at the trade deadline, and Big Z came in. He did some good things for your team. Yeah, you know, we got Hutch coming back. Ahmad Hassanin, we're excited about him. Marcus Davenport. Let me tell y'all about Marcus Davenport. I found out about Marcus Davenport back when they had invented football, right? So that was Brad Holmes when Chris Long asked him that question, teed it up, or gave him a little underhanded softball pitch, But now, today, he was on 97.1 The Ticket, and they asked him directly about it. And I think his name is Costa. I don't really listen to 97.1 The Ticket, so just forgive me if I don't know their names. He came in and he said, well, look, I know, Big Z, the thing out there, he's not an elite edge rusher, so don't crash out, pretty much is what he's like. We're not talking about Myles Garrett. We're not talking about none of them people. We're just talking about Big Z. He's serviceable. And Brad Holmes like, listen, we said that we would keep in contact, and we've been keeping in contact with his agent. Big Z, he did some good things for us, and he, there's some expectations that he has, and sometimes it takes, a little bit to because he's got expectations and we've got expectations. So sometimes it takes a little bit for those things to kind of match up. But we've definitely been keeping in contact. And obviously there's interest there. The fact that he said, obviously there's interest there. I almost did a happy dance. Now, I was in my car when I was listening to it, so I really couldn't do a happy dance because I was seated. But the Detroit Lions, what up those salty pork chops? He's back. The Detroit Lions have had discussions internally about Matthew Judon. And while we were all happy to hear that they have had discussions internally about Matthew Judon, did anyone really want Matthew Judon over Big Z? I'd like them both. I'm not even gonna lie to you, but I'm not gonna get greedy. Okay, Matthew Judon is a hometown kid, right? Welcome home. But when I say please come home, I got beans and bologna. Yeah. I ain't talking about Matthew Judon. I'm saying, Z, come home. I got beans and bologna. Yeah, I'm talking about Z, Big Z. He told you at the BET Awards when he was asked the question, when are you signing that contract with the Lions? He said, soon. I'm signing that contract soon. Now, another thing that Brad Holmes said, and this is what I've been saying pretty much all along. He said, Z is a veteran. It probably would not. What did he say? What were the words that he used? He said it probably wouldn't affect him too much if he missed a large chunk of training camp. Okay, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Yeah, you're going to come in after training camp, or towards the end of training camp, That's what that was. That is a wink, wink, nudge, nudge deal. Big Z is coming in towards the tail end of training camp. We've got 4 preseason games because we played in the Hall of Fame game. The earliest I would expect Big Z to come in is before who we got. So we got Atlanta next. Who's after Atlanta? Does anybody know? Well, I'm guessing it would be the Dolphins, right? Because we've got the joint practices next week with the Miami Dolphins. So yeah, it would be the Dolphins, and I think we finish up with the Texans. I wouldn't be surprised. I would say the earliest for him to come back would be next week because of the joint practices. But I would say probably in the Houston week is when you would expect to see Big Z back. Maybe even after that. If he's got is he in football shape? I'm sure he's been working out. He's doing more than working out. I'm talking about the muscles on the field. What I'm saying? Cash Doll going to Ghana. I'm talking about. So he is working out in more ways than one. Is he in football shape? I don't know. Probably not. So you probably want a good 2 weeks I'm saying ideally that's what you want. A good 2 weeks to go ahead and get yourself back into football shape. You know, the Detroit Lions camp is a hard camp. It is not an easy camp. Remember, both the Chicago Bears and the New York Jets have been saying that they have never seen so much hitting and physicality in camp before. Okay? Why? Because Osama bin Johnson is over there in Chicago. Aaron, non-Benedict, non-traitor patriot Glenn is over there in New York. And they brought what they brought from Dan Campbell and his coaching style and his way of running things and so on and so forth. Okay, Dan Campbell has a coaching tree, y'all. Did y'all think that Dan Campbell would have a coaching tree when he got up there talking about we're going to bite off a kneecap and when we get, when we come back up, we're going to take another chunk out of you? Did anybody think that? Right? I was one of the people that didn't really mind the press conference. I know there were a lot of people that minded the press conference. Oh, he's a meathead. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He did this, did that, blah, 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 blah. Now look at you. Punk ass. But anyway, so, Big Z might want to sit this one out. And again, that's what I've been saying. I don't think that Big Z is a person that really, really needs to be at camp or a person that really, really wants to be at camp. He is a 10-year vet. He knows what it is. He's done camp many, many times before. And he's probably just going to say, all right, I'm going to take a pass on this one. I'm going to sit this one out. I'm going to be ready for the season. My body's going to be feeling good because, as I said, he's a 10-year vet. Okay, he needs to be going in the season feeling good, feeling refreshed, not feeling bogged down, dealing with some nagging injury that he got in camp, whatever have you. All right, I'm going to ask a question after I get into the chat, see what y'all said. But I'm going to ask a question about this Big Z news. Here's Johnny says, here we go. TaylorMade Media says negotiations. Okay, I just did it. I just did. Yeah, I'm talking about just, I got one of my workers. Yeah, I got 3 cars and got one in the shop. Yeah, I'm talking about. So I got to pop the chat out. You already know what it is. All right. So, TaylorMade Media says negotiations 101. Facts. Here's Johnny says, Z is a good prototypical DE, but he isn't as explosive as when younger. Facts. I mean, he's been in the league 10 years. You wouldn't expect it to be. I mean, unless he was just a freak of nature, which most of the guys are, but there's an extent to the freakiness. Pause. All right. I did, says Flying Hawaiian. So Flying Hawaiian thought that Dan Campbell would have a coaching tree. Props and respect to Flying Hawaiian. All right. My question is, and I know he hasn't put pen to paper. I know the ink has not begun to be wet, so therefore it cannot begin to dry. But with Brad Holmes coming out there on the flagship and saying this publicly, no gaslighting. This is what I like to see. I like to see this from Brad Holmes. There was not a single bit of gaslighting in this situation, right? There were no Jedi mind trick. Jedi, right? I just coined that phrase. Do y'all like that? Jedi, because it's a ghetto Jedi. Do y'all like that? It's the type of Jedi that you will find in the hood. You know what I mean? Be like, what set you claiming, homie? I'm a Jedi, baby. Anyway, no Jedi mind tricks. No, y'all don't need an edge rusher. Y'all just crashing out because we got Aiden Hutchinson and you want another one. No, we don't. I mean, we'd love another Aiden Hutchinson. We'd love one. But Aiden Hutchinson is one of one. Aiden Hutchinson is Aiden Hutchinson. Okay, we're not asking you for that. But I like to see this from Brad because there was nothing. Okay, there was nothing that happened in this where it looked like he was being pretentious or pompous or arrogant or anything or being smartest guy. There was nothing. This was a genuine conversation about his feelings about Big Z, right? And I appreciated that, and I really enjoyed that. Okay, with Big Z almost certainly coming back, I kind of like, put the cart before the horse. But with Big Z almost certainly coming back, is your level of concern for the D-line, for the pass rush, completely gone? Or is this a step in the right direction? What else do you need to see? My question to you in the chat, tell me, what is the scenario? We get Big Z back in the fold. He re-signs with the Detroit Lions, hopefully I don't want it to be a 1-year deal. I want it to be a 2-year deal that allows him to, maybe he retires in 2 years. Who knows? Maybe he plays for a few more years. Love to see him retire as a Lion. I mean, he had 9.5 sacks last year over 2 teams. Okay. So he had 5.5 when he came here, and then he got 4 here in how many games did he play with us? 8 games or something like that. Right? So he had a sack every other game. That's a pretty good pace. Right? Especially when you're on the opposite side of Hutch, which he wasn't. So he's probably going to get more sacks with Hutch over there, because from all reports, Hutch is a problem. Hutch is a monster. Hutch hasn't lost a step. Now, I know he is going up against Giovanni Manu, but all of the reports coming out of camp about Hutch is that he looks fantastic. He looks better than when he broke the leg, or before he broke the leg. So what are your expectations? That's my point. That's my question to you in the chat. If we re-sign Big Z, which seems to be imminent, are there any other moves you need to see made along the defensive line for your level of confidence to be super duper high? Or do you think just the addition of Big Z is enough? Okay. Is the addition of Big Z enough for the Detroit Lions pass rush and defensive line? Or do you want to see another move made? I'm going to tell you right now, I think it's enough, but if I'm being greedy, as I said earlier, I'd like to see you also sign Matthew Judon. I'd like to see both of them in there. I'd like to see a rotation on the other side of Hutch. Just imagine this rotation. On the other side of Hutch, Marcus Davenport, Big Z, Matt Judon. Remember, Matt Judon can also go on the field at the same time as a Big Z, at the same time as a Zadarius Smith, because he stands up at times. Sometimes he's a stand-up rusher, right? Okay. You understand what I'm saying? Give Shep some more toys to play with, pause. Here's Johnny says, good locker room guy and mentor. Z's okay with me. O-line losing Zeitler and Ragnow hurts. Yes, for sure. I don't know. Can y'all see the smoke coming out of my mouth? I promise you it's not weed. I promise you it is not weed. I'm not sitting up here smoking weed on camera, y'all. Right? Just because of the pigmentation don't mean I'm just sitting on camera smoking weed. I don't even have a kombucha today. Okay? Which some people probably thought was a 40 ounce. Those people probably have Oakleys in their profile pictures. Okay? Or they got the Oakleys and they keep them in their drawer underneath their streaming software, so that as soon as they're done going live in the morning, they put their Oakleys on and they walk around the house. Right? Yeah. I promise you it's not weed. It's just cold as hell in here. That's why I got smoke coming out of my mouth while I'm talking. I don't think y'all can see it, but I'm just saying it's cold in the house. TaylorMade Media says, why would you re-sign Zadarius Smith if you've got the 6th rounder from Boise State terrorizing the Dan Skippers of the world? Well, it's very simple, TaylorMade, and I'm glad you asked that question. Because you ain't playing Dan Skipper every week. Okay? You ain't playing Dan Skipper every week. You're never playing Penei Sewell, but sometimes you're playing Tristan Wirfs, right? Sometimes you're playing Christian Darrisaw, right? Sometimes you're playing, insert the name here of a left tackle, right tackle that is not Dan Skipper. Dan Skipper is a serviceable backup lineman, tackle, guard, swing tackle, whatever you need him to do. But he's not your starter. If Taylor Decker goes down because Taylor Decker has missed games here and there, it's going to be Dan Skipper. He's going to go in there, right? Okay. Is Dan Skipper going to be your starter? No, he's not. Fly Hawaii says because he's a 6th rounder. Fly Hawaii, it's an inside joke that TaylorMade was making, so it's in reference to some other things. So let me know, what do you guys need to see? Are you cool with just Big Z? Do you need to see anything else to say, okay, this thing is now on its way? All right. Let us get to some other things, some notes coming out of training camp. So for everything that we see, everything that we've heard of, the Detroit Lions defense is giving it to the Detroit Lions offense. Shout out to the doc. I still got to get in touch with him. I'm going to text him right now. Let's see what he says. Let me text him. The people want to know when you coming on the show. All right, I sent the text. Okay, I sent it. Y'all, that you my witness. I sent them the text. Okay, all right. So shout out to him. He was on the heavies today, and he was talking about the offense not looking great. Didn't have a great practice on Monday night, so they came back today, and then there were drops. J-Mo had drops. And then there's still people out there that go, see, J-Mo's still back. Nah, he also said Amon-Ra had drops. Amon-Ra St. Brown had drops, right? Jared Goff was shaky, on his accuracy and on his deep ball and all these things. It just was an overall bad showing for the offense. Now, I'm not going to take too much from this situation. What up, though, Tactical Sport? Just got out the gym getting right. I'm not going to take too much from what I'm hearing about the offense not doing great or whatever the case may be. You're playing against a defense that knows what you're doing, right? You're playing against a defense, so especially when you say, all right, let's work on the vertical passing game. The defense is sitting on your routes. Why are they sitting on your routes? Because they know what you're doing. Okay? The defense has literally been practicing with you, not just the entire year, however many seasons y'all have been together. There's not a whole lot of new faces on the defense. DJ Reed obviously is the most impactful one of the new faces. Okay? He's the one that got paid the most money. He's the one that got brought in to replace Carlton Davis immediately after Carlton Davis left. So you got DJ Reed out there, so on and so forth. DJ Reed I've seen a couple of tweets, articles, things of this nature that have said DJ Reed was with J-Mo step for step, stride for stride on such and such a rep. What other cornerback in the NFL do you think is going to get that distinction? Right? The only way that DJ Reed can be step for step and stride for stride with Jameson Williams is if he is studying how he's running his routes. Okay? He's studying the film and he's watching him do it against him over and over and over again. Aiden Hutchinson is lining up against Giovanni Manu. We talked about Giovanni Manu and his football background and how the level of competition that he was going against was just some guys playing football in British Columbia. Not a single one of them had I think if you put 17 of them together, you wouldn't get a fraction of what Hutch is. If you put 20 together, you might get Hutch's broken leg from last season. I don't know. Let me know if that was too soon to make jokes. Okay. He's back now. As I said, he's got the adamantium in his leg, right? So he is the Wolverine. Shout out to him. But Aiden Hutchinson is lining up against Dan Skipper. What am I supposed to glean from this? Okay, Taylor Decker is back out there practicing. Okay, I don't think he's doing any team stuff, which is why he's out there against, did I say Dan Skipper? Dan Skipper is out. He's, ankle. He's not going to be available for the Falcons game. I meant Giovanni Manu. Okay? You're out there against Giovanni Manu. What am I supposed to glean from that? What am I supposed to learn about Aiden Hutchinson? Anything? I don't think so. Okay, so I'm not taking too much stock into this situation. I'm not at all. I'm not going to crash out and be like, oh my God, this offense, right? We miss Osama. Dang, I miss my dogs. Okay, anyway. We don't miss Osama. Right? I know Osama misses us. I'm going to tell you that much. I know Osama misses Jared Goff. Mother, did y'all see that damn video? Please tell me if you know the video that I'm talking about. It's a video on Twitter of Caleb Williams doing some sort of expressional artistic piece. My guy, you have to see this to believe this because it didn't make any sense whatsoever. I didn't know what I was looking at. And then he gets in this thing. I'm going to pull it up for you. Just a little bit. All right. The doc responded. He says soon, maybe end of next week or week after the Dolphins game. Okay. So we got it from the doc. Okay, he said that. All right, let me show you this. Okay, I'm turn it down. Okay, hold on. Let me start it back from the beginning. Okay, you ready for this? Okay, so he gets in this thing. Right? Y'all see that? Okay. That's it. That's the whole piece. Okay. And then this situation happens. Wait for it. Wait for it. Okay. See the camera cut because I guess they were tired of watching him just in the thing. Okay. So he puts this robe on. Okay. It's not like it's magic or anything. It's not like he's doing anything special. Okay? Then when this happens, the room erupts in cheers. Oh. Goddamn. Yeah, I just dropped the mess out of my phone. But yes, this room has erupted in cheers, and he's walking around. I don't know what they're cheering about. I don't know what they're clapping for. I don't know what is happening. I have no idea what is going on there. Okay? That's the Chicago Bears quarterback. Ron Winarski, shout out to you. That is your quarterback. What the actual F am I watching? What was that? Ron Winarski says that was creepy. Oh, Lord, please turn it off. All right. Tactical Sports says, okay, let me get back to I missed some stuff. Here's Johnny says, it's the O-line that's failing. Arnold might do it, especially with film study, etc. You're saying who would go step for? I'm talking about outside of the Detroit Lions. Outside of the Detroit Lions, outside of your teammates, who else is going stride for stride, bar for bar with Jameson Williams? Who want to go bar for bar with J-Mo? Sometimes in the street, they call him Waymo. All you got to do is say no, Mo. And he's down the field because Johnny Mo said so. Bars. Flying Wine says, WTF, the O-line is not failing. Tactical Sports says, I honestly want the defense to be outperforming the offense. We had the number one offense last season and the defense ranked 30 against the pass. We do need that, that pick me up. No time for golf or a hooker. No blitz pickups equals fail. Well, I mean, to be fair, Giovanni Manu and Dan Skipper out there ain't gonna help you too much. Here's the preseason. I'm not worried, says Flying Hawaiian. And then we got into that unfortunate Caleb Williams video. Taylor May said, you can't go to No Coney Island walking around like that. No, you can't. I don't know too much of anywhere you could go. Okay, so we got a creepy QB, LOL. Brother, so my thing was, when the room erupted in cheers and claps, I was like, what are you clapping for or cheering for? Because he put clothes on? Homie, that ain't it. That's just weird behavior. Like, I don't want my quarterback in that realm, right? That is like a person who calls himself an artist and he has this exhibition, and the exhibition is him entering the room in a robe. And he takes off his robe, much like Caleb Williams, and he's in his underwear. And there is a vat of paint, brown paint to signify mud. And he jumps in the brown paint, and then there's like paper underneath it, right? So he gets out of the paint vat and he starts rolling around on the paper as if he's creating art. He's literally rolling around on paper. A kindergartner could do that, covered in paint. And he's like, this is the expression of the world. We are all one people. We are all made of dirt and clay, molded in the visage of Adam. We are all one people. This represents the universe. And everyone is like, oh my God. Like, what are we talking about? That can't be my quarterback. I'm sorry. It can't. You can't be my quarterback doing that. What are you doing? I digress. Woosah. Boy, I'm glad Jared Goff doesn't do that. Okay? Jared Goff is a normal man. He's married to a swimsuit supermodel. Okay? And he's just had a daughter. Shout out to the Goffs and their happy union and their journey into parenthood. A shout out to the Goffs. Right? This guy does normal stuff. He does normal guy stuff. He doesn't paint his nails. He doesn't do any of that. He's just a normal man from California. The fact that he's from California would actually give credence to him doing a little bit of weird stuff. Because he's from California. You'd be like, they be on that down in Malibu, right? Y'all know where Caleb Williams from? Caleb Williams is from the DMV. He is from Washington, District of Columbia. He is from Washington, D.C. He has walked the streets across the street from the White House and seen all the homeless people when you turn down the next street. That is where Caleb Williams is from. And he's painting his nails and he's doing whatever that art exhibition thing was. Normal is boring, says Ron Winarski. That is what you have to say as a Chicago Bears fan watching your quarterback do some alien type stuff, bro. Like it was the gas up. It was the hype. Why are those people cheering? For what? What did he do but put clothes on that had stuff cut out in the front of it? What actually was I looking at? If you have to explain to me why something is art, it's not art. If you have to explain to me why someone doing something that takes no talent to do is an artistic expression that we should all be sitting up here cheering for, it is not art. If you can't simply look at the person performing what they're doing and whatever they create is really artistic, whether it is dance, whether it is an actual painting or a drawing or sculpting, whatever it is. If I have to ask you why you believe that this is art and why you believe that this is a talented thing that's happening, it ain't. It's not. I can sit in there and put my face in a latex sculpture and sit there and be still for 5 minutes and then get up and put clothes on and walk around like I'm in the freaking Wakanda. I can do that. It's not artistic at all. At all. All right, I digress. He said, it's Flying Hawaiian says it looks semi-religious, seriously creepy. I don't even think it looks semi-religious at all. It looked like, y'all want me to tell you what it looked like? Because I'm going to go there and then we have to go somewhere else. It looked like your man was getting ready to go to a Diddy party. That's what it looked like. Okay, it looked like your man was in preparations to go to a Diddy party. Or it looked like he was the entertainment at a Diddy party. If you know what I'm saying. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, I'm putting it down. That's what it looked like. Let's move on. Let's move on. All right. Ah, boy, I'm telling you. So you guys are good. You guys are good with the defense doing what they're doing. Ron Winarski says, I wonder if Caleb had a good time. At the Diddy party, most definitely he did. Okay, there's lots of baby oil and things. I'm sure there's nail polish. There's a lot of things that he could get involved in. So, you know, if that's how he gets down, that's how he gets down. He said, I think I saw a bald-headed Buddhist looking cat. I did too. All up in the camera, rubbing his bald head while cheering. I don't know what was happening. I was confused. I was confused. Pause indeed. That entire video was full of pausable moments. I didn't know what was happening. Nothing at all. So we will see. We will see next week in the joint practices with the Miami Dolphins what this offense is made of, what this defense is really made of. Training camp, again, okay, remember when we're going back to the Isaac TeSlaa hype, and I said he does look like a person that probably will justify that trade. I have a high level of confidence in Isaac TeSlaa. The reason that I started having a higher level of confidence in Isaac TeSlaa is because he showed out in the preseason game against other people who he has not been practicing against other people who he does not share a locker room with. Right? When you are able to show out against your opponents, that's when we can kind of glean a little bit of something, even though it was the Hall of Fame game, even though it's the preseason, right? When you look really, really, really bad in the preseason, guess what we say? It's just the preseason. And we say, okay, you got to shake off the rust right now so you can be ready to go in the regular season. Right? So we generally give you a pass from whatever happened negatively in the preseason into the first couple weeks of the season. Now, if you done played 2-3 games and you still looking trash, then there's concern. Because you like, okay, it wasn't just a preseason situation. This team is really trash. And I'm not talking about the Detroit Lions specifically. I'm talking about all teams in the NFL, right? You don't take too much stock about what happens in the preseason because it's the preseason. Okay? That's just how it goes. Again, 4-0, 0-16. Apparently, someone said this, that the Browns did the same thing the year that they went 0-16. Okay, so something about going undefeated in the preseason that ain't that great. So now we got that monkey off our back because we lost the first game. We don't have to worry about going undefeated. Okay, if undefeated leads to 0-16, then maybe completely defeated, not winning any games, leads to 17-0 in a Super Bowl. You ever think about that? Maybe it's possible. All right. But that was the reason why I was okay. I was okay with Isaac TeSlaa and the hype going up and willing to kind of look at him through the lens of, yeah, I'm comfortable with what he's going to do. And I really don't think that, you know, the trade is going to be a regret or anything. And it was because I saw him do it against someone else. So now, when we're talking about the offense struggling against the defense, yes. Defense knows what you're doing. Defense knows your plays. Defense knows the scheme. The defense knows what you're trying to work on. Okay. If you're telling the defense, well, we're working on the vertical pass game, give us a look. Give us a look means shut it down. Right? When the offense tells you to give us a look, that means they want your best. That doesn't mean that they want you to just go ahead and stand there while they're like, oh, that's how it would look if no. They want live bullets, everything flying. They want intensity. They want speed. They want to test out their scheme against a live defense. And that is what you were supposed to provide for them. Only thing you're doing is you're not trying to hurt your teammates. Obviously, you're not touching the QB, but this is what happens. This is what's supposed to happen. This is what you're supposed to see. So, no, I don't take any stock in whatever it is, whether it's the defense balling, whether it's the offense struggling. I don't take any stock in it at all. We'll have to see when it comes to the joint practices. Then you have more of a, okay. But then again, remember last year, people were crashing out about the New York Giants and they were giving us what's what in the practices, and then they came out and beat us in the preseason, and people were losing their poop. People were losing their poop, and then we went 15-2, and the Giants didn't even make the playoffs. The Giants got the number 3 overall pick. But they beat us in the preseason, so that meant we were doomed and we were in trouble. Remember that? Okay? I'm just, because there's going to be a lot of ledge jumpers. There's going to be a lot of ledge jumpers. There's going to be a lot of people at the edge, and I'm going to try to pull you back from the ledge. Okay? Again, we've seen this play out before. So y'all, past indicators are, what do they say it? The past is an indicator of the future success or failure or whatever the case may be, like this. Okay? Remember, the past told you 4-0 in the preseason made a difference. And then the future was that you went 0-16. Okay? The past told you that losing to the New York Giants in the preseason was bad omen or whatever you thought it was, and then we went 15-2. Okay, the New York Giants weren't a team that we were going to play if we ever played them last season in the regular season, right? They weren't a team that you were going to play in the postseason. They had the number 3 overall pick. So they played us in the preseason. They beat us. They got the number 3 pick. We went 15-2, and we were a meltdown away, okay, because we melted down in that game. We were a meltdown away from going back to the NFC Championship game in back-to-back years. So don't put stock into it. Let me see what y'all got. Ron Warnarski says Bears are going 15-2 and going to the Super Bowl. Tactical Sports says not with Caleb. Flying Hawaiian says not this decade. Tactical Sports says not this century. Ron Warnarski says LOL because he knows he is trolling. He knows he is trolling. All right, let's do a little bit of an extended mailbag question segment. Go ahead and get them in. Mailbag. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they reading you? Mailbag. Snickers, mailbag. Get your mailbag questions in. Get them in. Bask in it. All righty. Let's go ahead and shoot those across the chatosphere, and then we'll go ahead and get them asked. TaylorMade Media, my man, right? I'm going to have to start calling you Mailbag Media, because when I ask for mailbag questions, TaylorMade is right on top of it. He's always the first one in. Appreciate you, big dog. He says, Mailbag, I was told that Joe Rockhead broke the story about Za'Darius Smith even being at the BET Awards. Your thoughts? I don't think Joe Rockhead has ever heard of the BET Awards prior to the video surfacing on Twitter about Za'Darius Smith being asked that question. So I would say that is cap. And whoever told you that is a certified capologist. Right? He is a certified capologist. All right. the BET Awards. Okay. All right. Get some more mailbag questions, y'all. Come on, get them in. Telemay with another one. He says, how far down the field is Jared Goff going down the field with the vertical game? In other words, how vertical are we talking? As we said, and go back and watch the clip on quarterback, he could get you 50 yards at least of air yards. At least of air yards. I think him being 31st in air yards last season was a product of the Ben Johnson offense, Osama Ben Johnson offense. Now, here is the thing. Remember that Osama Ben Johnson sat down with Jared Goff to figure out what his strengths and weaknesses is, what he liked and what he didn't like. Now, I'm not going to tell you that he doesn't like. There is no quarterback in the NFL who doesn't like to throw the deep ball. Right? There is no quarterback in the NFL who doesn't like to throw the deep ball. But as we can see, Osama Ben Johnson is very anal, and he is very stick to the system type of guy. So the system that he created with Jared Goff was also his ideal system. Because the reason he's crashing out over there in Chicago is that he didn't completely understand that all this stuff that he tried to praise Caleb Williams for about basically being a backyard quarterback who can make things happen was how he plays the football game. It was not a trait of his. That is how he plays the game. Right? It's like if you're a weightlifter, you're a power lifter. That's what you do. You power lift. Right? And Osama's like, oh, I never had a lifter who could lift for power like that. Oh, but that's all he does, bro. If you're trying to get someone who's gonna do cardio, who's gonna do the bands and the stretching, who's gonna come in with the plyometrics, right? The explosive training. Nah, this man just powerlifted. Oh, you thought he was gonna do everything? No. He's just a power lifter. You thought you was gonna go in there and do some Pilates and yoga with him? No, he's just a power lifter. Well, I guess he ain't what I thought he was. Now I'm crashing out. Exactly. So, yes, to answer your question, he can go deep down the field. Pause. All right. Mailbag from Tactical Sport. Why you guys are Darius Smith on the thumbnail? Brad doesn't think we need another pass rusher. Did you not? Okay. I know you were in the gym. Brad Holmes was on 97.1 The Ticket earlier today, admitting that he has been talking to Za'Darius. He has been talking to his agent, and that there is obviously mutual interest still there. The Za'Darius Smith deal is getting done. He said basically what I've been saying about training camp not being high on Za'Darius' list. And he said he didn't think it would affect him if he missed most of training camp. So that is the breaking news. Tactical that you didn't hear. But yes, that is why Za'Darius Smith is on the thumbnail. That is why we got beans and bologna. Please come home. I got beans and bologna. Yeah. Right? That's why it's on there. Mailbag, Flying Hawaiian. If the Bears, Vikes, and Pack each split with the other, this sounds like a math question. One of those word questions. I hated those. All right. Each split with the other, and all are swept by the Lions, but those are their only losses this season. How is it determined who goes to the playoffs? Would they all go? If it was their only losses this season. Okay. So the Bears split with the Packers. They split with the They don't split with the Lions. They split with the Packers. They split with the Vikings. That's 2 losses. They have 2 losses to the Lions. They are 13-4. I don't see a situation in which what is the Lions record? Because the Lions is sweeping with all of them. What's their record? Where are their losses coming from? So you're going to have the Bears, Packers, and the Vikings as 13-4 teams. I don't see how they don't all get into the playoffs. And then the Lions, by default, because they swept all of them, would probably win the division. So they would automatically get in as the divisional winners. So their records, I guess, don't have to be the same as the other ones. But yeah, I don't see, let's say 4 13-4 teams in the division, which is never going to happen ever, probably. But yeah, I think they would all get in. Now, the seeding is the seeding. It would be probably point differential. That's probably how you would do the seeding for those teams. TaylorMade says, I never knew Jared Goff was 31st in air yards. Yeah, they didn't throw it, a ton down the field. Mailbag, what adjustments have to be made by Hank Fraley to get the O-line knocking folks off the ball versus the Falcons? Tate Ratledge and Christian Mahogany have to play. I don't know how much. I know Tate wasn't out there. I don't know if Christian was out there at all. But yeah, you have to have more talent playing, probably. Mailbag, can we stop calling it the Osama bin Johnson's offense? That offense was made up by Osama, Goff, and Morton. Okay, facts, right? No, I was gonna, no, I'm not gonna do that. Sometimes it's when you have the timing, right? When you got the timing and people just be saying stuff and I just fire off, boom, it's a gift and a curse. They're also talking to Teddy Two Gloves. Where did they get us? So they were talking to Teddy Two Gloves as friends. As I was saying yesterday, Dan Campbell and Teddy Two Gloves are friends. So even after him signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he probably picked up the phone and called him. You know what I mean? And congratulated him and stuff. So it is a different situation. And also Teddy Two Gloves wasn't at the BET Awards telling us that he wanted to be in Detroit and be a Lion. And he's also not dating Cash Doll, which would be weird. If 2 players on the team were dating the same woman, that would be weird. The Lions outright win the division. Yeah, they outright win the division. They're in the playoffs for sure. And then the other 3 would undoubtedly be in the playoffs. I mean, there might be a situation in where there's an odd team out, which just like, Tom Brady, when he got hurt, the Patriots went 11-5 with Matt Castle and somehow didn't make the playoffs. But I think 13-4 is a little bit too much for you not to make the playoffs. That's crazy. How do you only lose 4 games in a season that's 17 games and you don't make the playoffs? That would be crazy. So I don't think that's a scenario that could happen. Mailbag. So if Jared Goff threw for 4,500 yards in 24, my math says he threw the ball 900 times. Because they run 5-yard outs. What am I missing? Listen, you might throw the football 5 yards in the air, but remember, yak and all that stuff is part of your yards. So no, your math would be wrong because he didn't throw the ball 900 times. Like 900 completions is what you're saying. No, I don't think he had 900 completions. He didn't throw the ball 900 times. Throwing the ball 900 times would be like, what would you have to throw it like 50 times a game? That's crazy. He did that once. He did that once with the Buccaneers. Fly Hawaiian says yak. Absolutely. Weird happens all the time. What happens all the time? I missed that one. Yeah. So once you get back to that one, I will answer it. But I appreciate you all for stopping in. Players with the same chick. Oh, yeah. Not publicly. Right. They're going to Ghana. It's serious. All right, I appreciate y'all, man, for coming through, stopping by for conversation. No drink, no cup, no nothing today. But once again, the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. We came to give you stats and not none of that static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. We will not be here tomorrow, but we will be back here on Friday. You know the deal. It is what it is. We are out. Peace.